All right, Global Studies students, this is the fourth installment of our Industrial Revolutions unit, and we are talking about economy in this segment. So before we get started, I want you to answer this question in the Ed Puzzle. What did labor unions fight for? You should be able to get this from the previous segment on the spread of the Industrial Revolution. All right, moving on to the next slide. We are talking about capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system, and it involves capitalism is first born out of the ideas of Adam Smith. That's this fine-looking gentleman right here. He wrote a book in 1776 called The Wealth of Nations, and it says that an economy works best under a laissez-faire system. Laissez-faire, this word right here, it's French. I know it's not typically a word we speak in our English language every day today or these days. Laissez-faire literally translates to leave it alone or let it alone. Laissez-faire. This is the idea that businesses should operate without government interference. And this operating without government interference leads to a growing economy and progress of all people. That's the theory here. All right, so Adam Smith, he also promoted 3 laws. The laws of self-interest, which says people work for their own good. The law of competition says that competition forces people to make a better product. And then there's the law of supply and demand. Enough goods would be produced at the lowest possible price to meet demand in a market economy. Supply and demand. If you're supplying enough, then there should be enough to meet the demand. All right, we know from previous lessons in this unit, capital means money. Capitalism is an economy where individuals and private firms, not the government, own the production of goods, services, and this spurs or encourages competition. Here's a capitalism example. Student A is making a chocolate candy bar and selling the candy to people at school. Student B starts making chocolate candy and selling it. What are some things both students are going to do to sell more candy and make more money? Three things that they may do. Lower prices, make a tastier candy bar, make a variety of chocolate bars including caramel, maybe one with nuts, a dark chocolate, a milk chocolate, to appeal to the masses. Everybody prefers different tastes and flavors and that sort of thing. Capitalism relies on competition from companies to sell us better products with cheaper prices. Student A was making good money selling those candy bars. Do you think he would have worked harder in adding variety to his candy without student B's competition? Do you think he would have cut his prices if it wasn't for student B's competition? Competition drives quality up and it drives price down. All right, do you remember these pictures? You may recall them from a couple lessons ago last week regarding the Industrial Revolution. Thinking about capitalism, what you just learned about capitalism, do you think a picture like this is a good argument for capitalism? Is this something that people would take a look at and say, yes, capitalism is a good thing? I want you to answer that question in the Ed Puzzle. All right, here is Thomas Malthus. He wrote an essay on the principle of population in 1798, and he warned of population explosion and food shortages. Most people were destined to live poor. Malthus's book, sorry, I lost my place. He warns the population increases more rapidly than the food supply. So he was afraid that there would be more people than food to feed those people. He was wrong, however. The population did boom, and it did continue to boom, but the food supply grew even faster. As the century progressed, living conditions for the Western world also slowly improved, and then people began having fewer children. By the 1900s, population growth was no longer a problem in the West, but it did continue to afflict many nations elsewhere. Here we have Jeremy Bentham. He's got this idea about utilitarianism. He was an English philosopher, and in the late 1700s, Bentham introduces the philosophy of utilitarianism. And this says all laws or actions should be judged by their usefulness. If a law or action is not useful, then it shouldn't exist. Two social reforms of utilitarianism is education and public health care for all. And here we have John Stuart Mill's. Mill wanted the government to step in and improve the hard lives of the working class. Mill believed in freedom, and he believed that middle-class business and factory owners had the freedom to increase their own happiness, but they shouldn't do so in a way to harm others. And government should prevent them from doing so, that is, harming workers. So Mill was for the working class. Equal distribution of wealth, universal suffrage, that means everyone has a right to vote, and equal rights for women. And last question for the Ed puzzle, what is that should say utilitarianism? What are two reforms to advocate for? This word is spelled incorrectly on the slide. I'm going to spell it correctly in the question.